Hello, my name is Marie Curie, and I'm going to draw my life. No, that's Mariah Carey. That's much better. I was born Maria Sklodska in Poland on 7 November 1867. I came from a very poor family and was the youngest of 5. My parents were teachers, so made sure we appreciated the value of learning. My sister died of typhus when I was 8, and my mother died of tuberculosis when I was 10. But my dad made sure I stayed in school. And I turned into a top student facing a world of opportunity. At least I would have if girls were allowed to go to university in Poland in the 1800s. So my sister and I joined an illegal underground organization, a secret university which did let women in. As they say, you just have to keep calm and carry on. I loved it there, but I knew to get a proper education I'd need to go to a proper university. So I spent years teaching and saving enough money to study in Paris. La ville lumière. I worked really hard there and earned master's degrees in both physics and maths. On the inside, I was beaming. Honest. To continue my research, I needed to find a laboratory, which is how I met Marie Curie, who had some space we could work in. And boy, did we work. We fell in love over our passion for science and were soon married. Talk about serious chemistry. We would have 2 daughters, but that's more to do with biology and physical science. When it was discovered that certain minerals gave off mysterious rays, I decided to investigate. I called this property radioactivity. Yes, that was me. I made up that word. No biggie. One of the minerals I studied was called pitchblende. Even though it contained uranium, it seemed to have unusually high levels of radioactivity. Man, I love that word. I realized this meant it must contain another, even more radioactive element that no one had ever seen before. Pierre gave up his research to help me investigate, and together we discovered not 1, but 2 new elements, radium and polonium. Then I figured out that radium could be used to kill cancerous cells, and people got a bit carried away. Soon they were proclaiming this dangerous glowing element to have miraculous healing properties. They put it in everything from cough syrups to lipstick, alarm clocks, and chocolate. It even went into children's toys. Whoops. But that wasn't my fault. And Pierre and I won the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1903 for our work in radioactivity. I was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize. That is rad science. Just when we had hit the scientific big time, Pierre was hit by a horse-drawn wagon and killed instantly. I was devastated, but determined to carry on our important work. In memory of my husband, I helped set up the Radium Institute, which aimed to use radiation to help people with cancer. And guess what? I won another Nobel Prize in chemistry. That made me the first person ever to win 2 Nobel Prizes. Another first. How about that for girl power? Then World War I broke out. I used my scientific knowledge to help the troops. I raised money to build a fleet of X-ray wagons that could be taken to the battlefield and used to diagnose millions of wounded soldiers. I refused to make profit from my work, and I was soon too poor to buy the radium I needed for my research. When the public found out about this, they campaigned to make sure I could get all the radium I needed. Thanks, folks. Even the President of the United States gave me a gram of this stuff. This might not sound like much, but its value would be equivalent to about £1 million in today's money. Unfortunately, my work had exposed me to dangerous levels of radioactivity. Did this turn me into a superhero with radioactive powers? No, sadly not. It killed me. My papers are even radioactive today. Okay, so I had some tragedies in my life, but I never gave up. My work in radioactivity has helped treat millions suffering with cancer. If you study maths and physics, then who knows? Maybe you could change the world too. Subscribe to Your Life for more videos to inspire you and help unlock your potential in our world of maths and physics.
Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the video. Dear friends and colleagues, very good morning everyone, and happy International Day of Medical Physics. My name is Jaipur. I'm a medical physicist and a senior lecturer at the University of Malaya. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this meaningful event today. Together, we are going to celebrate the International Day of Medical Physics via a global webcast. We are very honored today to have our very distinguished guest, Dr. Maria Del Rosario Perez, from the World Health Organization, WHO, Dr. Noria Jama, from the Malaysian Nuclear Agency, and Dr. Serene Chu, from the Ministry of Health, Malaysia. And last but not least, we have Professor Dr. Mehta Rahani, who is the current Vice President of International Organization for Medical Physics, who unable to join us physically here in this room today, but he will be joining us from the National Institute of Cancer, Putrajaya. This event is organized by the International Organization for Medical Physics, IOMP, together with the World Health Organization and the University of Malaya. IOMP organizes 3 events this year for the IDMP. I'm proud to announce that we are one of them. The other 2 events are held at Jaipur, India, in conjunction with the Asia-Oceania Congress of Medical Physics and at the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, in Vienna. This year, we celebrate the 150th birthday of our great woman scientist, the late Marie Curie. She was not only the physicist, but also a chemist. Madame Curie is remembered for her work on radioactivity and her huge contribution to the fight against cancer. Her work continues to inspire our mission to support people living with illness, including cancer. The theme for IDMP 2017 focuses on providing a holistic approach to women's patients and women's staff safety in radiation medicine. We have put together 3 presentations today. The first topic is on the International Day of Medical Physics. What, why, how, expectations and outreach achieved to be delivered by Dr. Madame Rehani. The second topic is building on Marie Curie's legacy for strengthening radiation safety culture in healthcare, to be delivered by Dr. Mario. And the third topic is on Madame Marie Curie, a great scientist's contributions to humankind, to be delivered by Dr. Noria Jama. I hope you will enjoy the sessions and wish you all the best. Without further ado, I would like to pass the chair to our moderator, Dr. Serene Chu, from the Ministry of Health. Dr. Serene, please.
Thank you, Dr. Chai Hong. Our first speaker is Professor Dr. Madan Rehani. Dr. Madan Rehani is currently the Director of Global Outreach for Radiation Protection at the Massachusetts General Hospital, Harvard Medical School, Boston, and Adjunct Professor of Radiology and Medical Physics at Duke University, USA. Formerly, Dr. Rehani was the Radiation Safety Specialist at the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, for 11 years. At IAEA, he has the responsibility for developing and directing multinational projects on medical radiation protection, education, and training in over 60 countries. Prior to that, he was the professor and head of medical physics at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, India. He is a member of the International Commission on Radiological Protection, ICRP, and he is currently the Vice President of the International Organization for Medical Physics, IOMP. Dr. Rehani is also the Senior Editor to the British Journal of Radiology, BJR. He has 200 publications to his credit. Dr. Rehani has many international and national awards to his credit. He has been awarded the Harold Jones Medal by the IOMP in 2009, the most prestigious award of India in nuclear sciences, Homi Bhabha Memorial Oration by Society of Nuclear Medicine India in 1999, Dr. K.M. Rai Oration by Indian Radiological and Imaging Association 2001, and honorary membership of the Society for Pediatric Radiology in 2011. So let's listen to his speech.
Hello, this is Madan Rehani, Vice President, International Organization for Medical Physics. I work in Massachusetts General Hospital, Harvard Medical School, Boston. I'll be talking to you on International Day of Medical Physics. Let's first look at the International Day in general. International Day is normally also known as International Observance or an International Dedication or an International Anniversary. It is a period of time to observe some issues of international interest or concern. The United Nations General Assembly designates a number of international days to mark important aspects of human life and history. By creating special observances, the United Nations promotes international awareness and action on these issues. Quite a large number of international observances are observed, and the majority of observances have been established by the resolution of United Nations General Assembly, although some have been designated by specialized organizations of United Nations. For example, the United Nations Economic and Social Council, the UNESCO, WHO, and various other organizations of United Nations. Actually speaking, so far there have been quite a large number of international observances in the UN calendar. In 2016, there were 129 days. Not many of them are on medical issues, except, for example, World Autism Day, Tuberculosis Day, Malaria Day, Safety at Work. They are not really on specialty-based days. In addition to the international days, there are weeks, years, and decades also celebrated by United Nations. Some of them are listed here. Let's come to the IDMP, that is the International Day of Medical Physics. At the outset, it must be mentioned that IDMP is not yet approved by the United Nations, and this is the day celebrated to promote medical physics. So since many of the days are theme-based, not subject-based, so we have been thinking seriously about this issue. IDMP was started by IOMP, the International Organization for Medical Physics. The idea was born sometime in 2012-13. One of our colleagues, Simone, talked about it, we discussed it, and there was a long discussion for many months on which day should be chosen to be celebrated as IDMP. After considerable discussions, 7th November was chosen, and this was chosen because of the birthday of Marie Curie. And first IDMP was celebrated in 2013. How the process is done every year regarding the celebration of IDMP, the executive committee, that is ExCom of IOMP, decides the theme for each year. It also decides the ExCom member from IOMP who will coordinate. And then the popularization is done using IOMP channels. It happens that since the beginning of 2013 till this year 2017, Professor John Damilaki, the Chair Education Committee, Education and Training Committee, has been the one coordinating celebration of IDMP. The expectations of celebrating IDMP are that to go beyond professional domain to public domain in terms of medical physics. The ExCom of IOMP for the current term, 3-year term of 2015 to 2018 is listed here. President, Vice President, Secretary General, Treasurer, Past President, and then chairs of Science Committee, Education Training Committee, Awards Honors Committee, Medical Physics World Publication, and Professional Relation Committee. The themes which have been used in the previous years, right from start, let's say 2013, the theme was radiation exposure from medical procedure, ask the medical physicist. And in 2014, the theme was looking into the body, advancement in imaging through medical physics. 15, it was focused on cancer, better medical physics, better cancer care in radiation oncology. The theme for 16 was on education in medical physics, the key to success. In 2017, this is a special year because of 150th birthday of Marie Curie, and this year IDMP is dedicated to Marie Curie. And not only that, we decided to have the theme on women in medical physics. So the theme of 2017 is providing a holistic approach to women patients and women staff safety in radiation medicine. We in IOMP had done some work on female medical physicists. We surveyed the status of we surveyed the number of female medical physicists in the world, and this was published in Physica Medica, the European Journal of Medical Physics. It was published in 2015, and this was the first international survey that investigated the number and percentage of female medical physicists around the world. There are European countries that are far away from the target set by European Commission of 40%, whereas in countries in the Middle East and Asia, the female medical physicists actually outnumber male. This table shows the data from different regions. As one can see, the developing countries, the regions with more developing countries happen to be having sizable number of female medical physicists when compared to the developed countries. We picked up female medical physicists from large part of the world, and this poster depicts some of them, about 150 of them. In 2013, when IDMP was celebrated, we had fewer places which are shown in this map where IDMP was celebrated. In 2014, we had somewhat larger number, as you can see, almost double actually than 2013. And in 2015, further increase, and 2016, some further increase in number of places which celebrated IDMP. IDMP is becoming very popular now. Many countries and many cities in different countries are celebrating IDMP. We also have instituted an IDMP award, and this award recognizes excellence in medical physics with a particular view of promoting medical physics to a larger audience and highlighting the contribution medical physicists make for patient care. So with that, I wish you happy IDMP 2017 and best wishes to women medical physicists. Thank you very much for patient listening.
Dr. Madan Rehani is watching the webcast from National Cancer Institute Putrajaya. Thank you, Dr. Rehani. Our next speaker is Dr. Maria del Rosario Perez. Dr. Maria del Rosario Perez is a medical doctor who has worked at the Unit Interventions on Healthy Environments, Department of Public Health and Environment of the World Health Organization, WHO, since April 2007. Her main responsibility at WHO is the technical coordination of the WHO Global Initiative on Radiation Safety in Healthcare Settings. Her work at WHO also includes the development of guidance, norms, and standards on ionizing radiation and human health, and the provision of technical support to preparedness and response in radiation emergencies. Dr. Perez has been involved in the revision of the International Basic Safety Standard (BSS) for protection against ionizing radiation and for the safety of radiation sources since her arrival at WHO. In June 2009, she was nominated to represent WHO at the Joint BSS Secretariat as well as at the IAEA Radiation Safety Standards Committee. She also represents WHO at the Interagency Committee on Radiation Safety and serves as WHO Observer, the ICRP Committee on Medical Exposure, the group of scientific experts referred to in Article 31 on the Euratom Treaty and its Working Party on Medical Exposure. Dr. Perez was the head of the radiopathology lab at the Nuclear Regulatory Authority, director of the REMPAN License Institute in Argentina, member of the National Advisory Council in Radioisotopes and Radiations, alternate representative of Argentina at United Nations Scientific Committee on the Effects of Atomic Radiation, UNSIR, and consultant of UNSIR on effects of ionizing radiation of the immune system. She participated in international expert teams involved in the preparedness and response in radiation emergencies. She coordinated research projects on the effects of ionizing radiation on the immune system, fetal brain, and dermal endothelial cells, and co-authored more than 90 technical papers in her areas of expertise. With that, I invite Dr. Maria.
Good morning to better. Good morning to everybody. Good afternoon or good evening in the rest of the world. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be here to refer to this important topic on building on Marie Curie legacy for strengthening radiation safety culture in healthcare. I want to start on behalf of the World Health Organization with great pleasure congratulating today the medical physicists from all over the world in this new celebration of the International Day of Medical Physics. WHO welcomes this initiative that Dr. Rehani described, that was initially made by the IOMP, the International Organization of Medical Physicists. And WHO also used this opportunity to encourage the medical physicists to strengthen their commitment to continually improve health service quality, foster excellence in clinical care, and to ensure the safeguard of the highest possible quality and safety standards in the medical use of radiation. The IDMP today is focused on protecting women, including patients and health workers, when using radiation in medicine. And this is done building up on the legacy of a very special woman born 150 years ago exactly today. And when we say today, is because today the use of radiation in medicine, we all know, is essential for the diagnosis and treatment of human diseases. Radiation saves lives. But particularly thinking about women's health, this is particularly essential, including the entire healthcare pathway: early detection, diagnosis, treatment, follow-up, and even palliation in cancer. And many examples, I can just pick up two most important examples in women's health, and it is breast cancer and cervix cancer. And radiation safety in healthcare today is embedded in the current concept of quality in healthcare, which includes several dimensions that you can see here in this slide: appropriateness, accuracy, affordability, accountability, timeliness, patient centricity. But safety is one of the key components of quality in healthcare. But was this the case in the past century? Certainly no. Once upon a time, we can start with a bit of history about radiation, and I should start a little bit before moving to these great women to say that it was a Friday, 8 November 1895, when a German physicist, Röntgen, investigating the response of the vacuum tube equipment, he discovered what he speculated was a new kind of rays, and because he did not know too much, he called it temporally X-rays, and tomorrow there will be a celebration of this anniversary also. In recognition of this discovery, he received the first Nobel laureate in physics in 1901. A bit more of history moves just a few months later with the discovery of another type of rays that were called the uranium rays, or even some people call them the Becquerel rays, because they were discovered by Henri Becquerel, a French physicist, also a physicist. And it was a kind of accidental discovery, and he informed this discovery. However, the scientific community a little bit disregarded his discovery, because they continued focusing on the X-rays, which were spreading all over the world. The machines were in the newspapers, even in the theater shows. So a woman, a young woman, who was starting working in research, Marie Curie, known as Maria Sklodowska, she was born exactly on the same day we are now, 7 November 1867. She studied physics and mathematics, and she met in the Sorbonne University Pierre Curie, professor at the School of Physics, and she just got married a few months before all these two important discoveries. And she was at that time trying to choose the topic of her doctoral thesis, and these two important discoveries influenced Marie Curie very much. And she decided to continue studying these first discoveries, particularly the Henri Becquerel. The School of Physics and Chemistry, where her husband was teaching physics, allowed her to perform the experiments in a place not really ideal laboratory, but still she did the experiments there. And in a very creative way, instead of using the photographic plates that Henri Becquerel had been using, she adapted a electrometer that her husband has discovered or created 15 years ago. And she adapted this in a very creative way, as women very often we used to do. And she could finally measure the conductivity in the air as a result of the uranium rays. And this very ingenious solution was the key to the first success, measuring these weak electric currents. And then radiation research was moving forward, because radioactivity was born in a way, because Marie Curie coined this word. She proved with this experiment that the uranium rays were constant no matter the condition or the chemical form, and then she postulated that these rays were coming from the atomic structure. So this was also a groundbreaking idea which opened the door for atomic physics. Then the Curies continued working together, investigating radioactivity in other minerals, and they discovered two new radioactive elements, polonium and radium. And Marie and Pierre Curie, together with Henri Becquerel, finally the three of them were awarded with the Nobel Prize for Physics for this work. And here, this is a quote from Marie Curie, an interesting quote when she said that when the radium was discovered, nobody knew that radium could really save lives treating and curing cancer. So in a way, she said that it's a proof that scientific work not necessarily should be considered always from the point of view of the direct usefulness. As unfortunately very, very early, Marie lost her husband, and that was tremendous for her, but she devoted herself to continue the work that they had begun together. She took over the teaching position at the Sorbonne. Marie Curie received the second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry, for the discovery of radium and polonium. And in the lecture, she accepted the prize, but she shared the prize with the husband. Another thing that I want to highlight from Marie Curie was her open-mindedness to willingness to keep the dialogue and to interact with the international scientific community, with outstanding scientists. And this picture is really an example of something that we should be really shocked if you read the names of the people that were attending this Physics Solvay conference in 1911. Marie Curie was there with Albert Einstein, with Max Planck, with Henri Poincaré, with Ernest Rutherford. Her contribution was not just for radium, for polonium, for the radioactivity in general, as in addition to that, during the First World War, Marie Curie was investing time and resources in helping the cause. She had a very strong humanitarian side. And she helped with equipping ambulances with portable X-ray machines. Herself was driving the machines that were called the Little Curies, and the Red Cross made her like a head of the radiological service. And she also conducted training courses for technicians, for doctors on X-rays for diagnostic imaging. So diagnostic education and training was something that she was also fostering. But she had to face many challenges because she was a woman, because she couldn't attend the university in her home country in Poland. She did not stop because of that. She continued the education through these underground, informal, secret classes. She continued studying physics, chemistry, mathematics, but at the same time she worked to earn money to be able to travel to France to earn the official degree. So I want to share with you this additional quote among many others that is very inspiring for all of us. Life is not easy for any of us, she said, but what of that? We must have perseverance and above all, confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted for something and that this thing must be attained. She did it. She faces also challenges as a woman. Even she didn't receive significant financial benefits. He had to work hard on fundraising. Many of us still work on fundraising for our research projects. She did it. She even traveled to the United States twice to raise funds, not only for herself, for her projects, for bringing radium, but also for establishing a radium research institute in Poland. And even despite the successful research in France, she continued facing problems and oppositions from male scientists, and she was denied a seat in the French Academy of Science. And there is this is a nice picture of Einstein and Marie Curie. Albert Einstein expressed the solidarity with Marie in a letter sent to her in 1911. She also faced challenges as a wife and mother and a woman, again. And this is also a quote saying, "I have frequently been questioned, especially by women, of how I could reconcile family life with a scientific career. Well, it has not been easy. Not for her, not for us. We all know that it's not easy." She had 2 daughters, and the 2 of them, Irene and Eve, were also outstanding women. So 2 generations of successful women. Irene received the Nobel Prize in Chemistry together with her husband, and Eve was a journalist, and she was director of UNICEF when UNICEF was awarded the Nobel Prize. So this is the amazing life of a woman who was the first woman with a degree in physics, first woman to become a professor at the University of Paris, first woman to win a Nobel Prize, first person and only woman to win a Nobel Prize twice. First and only person to win a Nobel Prize twice in two different sciences, physics and chemistry. And first woman entombed on her own merits and not because being the wife of anybody in the Pantheon in Paris. And there are many other things that we could say from Madame Curie. But now I want to say something that was sad. Madame Curie finally, her health was starting deteriorating in the early 20s, 1920s. She developed leukemia. She died in very young with aplastic anemia, and this is very likely to be related to the exposure to ionizing radiation during her professional life. She started her experiments before the development of radiation biology and radiation protection as we know today. I want to remind you that it was only at the Second International Congress of Radiology in 1928 when the current International Commission on Radiation Protection, that in the past had a different name, was created to respond to these growing concerns about the effects of ionizing radiation, particularly in the medical community. So occupational radiation protection in healthcare settings was the main driving force to create the system of radiological protection by the ISRP with the golden rules of protection and with the 3 principles. And we can say that those principles and golden rules still are valid, but now we have to address those in a changing, evolving conditions for occupational protection. We learn from this Marie Curie legacy also. But also we learn about patients' protection, patient safety, which is a discipline which vision is the absence of preventable harm to a patient during the process of healthcare. Is a principle which refers to the coordinating efforts to prevent this harm in these conditions. And when we talk about safety culture in general, we talk about the product of the shared beliefs, attitudes, values, perceptions, behavioral characteristics that determine that the staff members have a commitment to their organization's ongoing safety performance. And this includes both intangible and tangible components. The intangible, the sharing the safety values, and the tangible results in the way of behaviors, structures. Culture is local, and it must be targeted at the local level with support of the organizations. And when we mix patient safety with safety culture, we come up with this concept of improving the reliability of patient care in the healthcare organizations. And this is one of the biggest challenges moving toward a safety health system which is changing the culture. We can see that now we are substantially improving the culture in the healthcare systems towards building learning organizations. So far it has been very frustrating to see that our healthcare organizations in general have failed to learn from their mistakes. Too often we don't share our mishaps and we don't advise our colleagues, and as a result the mistakes are repeated. There are several components in safety culture: leadership, teamwork, evidence-based practices, communication, learning from mistakes, justice for recognizing the errors as system failures rather than individual failures, and patient-centered approach. We want to achieve this in a culture that encourages all workers to accept responsibility for safety from themselves, from their colleagues, from patients, for visitors, to prioritize safety above financial and operational goals, to encourage and reward this identification and communication and resolution of safety issues, to provide learning from accidents, and to provide the resources, the structure, and the accountability. We can say that the RP culture exists in healthcare when the health workers are actively engaged, when the medical organization supports this role, when there is the establishment which is a top-down approach, starting with the leadership, but involving all the stakeholders in the healthcare pathway. How to strengthen the safety culture involving the health workers, the working environment, ensuring leadership and teamwork, and motivating and committing. So there are priorities for establishing a robust radiation safety culture, establishing standard levels of education and training and continuous professional development, implementing quality assurance programs, sensitizing the physicians, improving communication, and establishing indicators to assess the safety culture. Safety culture is today one of the 10 priority actions in the so-called Bonn Call for Action to improve radiation protection in medicine in the next decade, with specific sub-actions addressing what I mentioned before, instilling safety culture from other areas, and you can see here all the different components of this action. Safety culture, for the first time, is also included in the new international radiation basis safety standards in one specific requirement, the requirement 2.51. I will not read this now, but it's a requirement to promote and maintain safety culture. This is something new also. And we are working on this, and we are here now because this week we will have also a specific workshop here in Malaysia together the IAEA, the IOMP, the IRPA, the World Health Organization, the Ministry of Health of Malaysia, and the Ministry of Science and Technology and Innovation, all together on this topic. So, to finalize, building upon Marie Curie legacy, we are moving toward improving the radiation safety culture in healthcare. And I am picking up again one of Marie Curie's quote: "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less." So we want to build upon her legacy, but also looking forward to the future. And I want to finish not just thinking about Marie Curie today, but also looking to the future. And to look to the future, I have chosen this nice paint from Magritte, from one of the painters I like very much, because I think it's a beautiful paint. He painted himself and his own perception of the future. And you see that he's looking at an egg, but he's painting the bird that will be born from that egg. So when looking for inspiration, don't stop at what is literally before your eyes, our eyes. Let's use our imagination to understand the potential, to see the possibilities. And this is also the legacy of Marie Curie. Thank you very much, and terima kasih banyak.
Thank you, Dr. Maria. And our last speaker is Dr. Nora Jamal. Dr. Nora Jamal is currently the Director of the Division of Planning and International Relations of the Malaysian Nuclear Agency, Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, Malaysia. She is the National Liaison Officer for the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA. Her main responsibility is to facilitate technical cooperation between Malaysia and the IAEA. She is also the principal point of contact for the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, CTBT, for Malaysia. The main responsibility is to oversee the implementation of the CTBT in Malaysia. Previously, she was the Quality Assurance Manager for Isotopes Production, and the head of Biodosimetry Laboratory of Malaysia Nuclear Agency. Dr. Noria has been involved in the preparations of the Radiation Protection Licensing Regulations 1986, Basic Safety Standards Regulation 1988, and Radiation Protection Transport Regulations 1989 in Malaysia. She is the invited lecturer for the Master of Medical Physics program at the University of Malaya, Malaysia. She has published more than 40 peer-reviewed articles and book chapters in the area of medical physics. With that, I welcome Dr. Noria.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Marie Curie, a great scientist's contribution to humankind. Madam Marie Curie was born in the city of Warsaw, Poland, on 7 November 1867. Her given name was Maria Sklodowska. She was the youngest of 5 children of school teachers. Her older sister died when Marie was 8, and her mother died when she was 10 years old. Her family and friends called her Little Mania. After her mother died and her father could no longer support her, she became a governess, reading and studying in her own time. At the age of 16, Mania graduated high school. She received the gold medal for finishing first among girls in Warsaw. When her sister offered her accommodation in Paris with a view to going to university, she grasped the opportunity and moved to France in 1891. She immediately entered the University of Paris, where she read physics and mathematics. In summer 1893, aged 26, Mary finished as top student in her Master Physics degree course, and she completed a master degree in chemistry in 1894 at the age of 27. It was in Paris in 1894 that she met Marie Curie, a scientist in the area of crystallography and discoverer of piezoelectric effect, and who she married a year later and became a formidable scientific team. It was also around this time that she adopted the French spelling of her name, Marie. They had 2 daughters, Irene, born in 1897, and Eve, born in 1904. In 1896, Henry Becquerel discovered the radioactivity in uranium, but he did not describe whether it was a physical or a chemical phenomenon. The Curies became research workers at the School of Chemistry and Physics in Paris. There, they began their pioneering work into invisible rays given off by uranium, a new phenomenon which had been discovered by Henry Becquerel. Mary decided that her doctorate thesis would be on Henry Becquerel's mysterious rays that are given off by uranium. That same year, Mary, together with her husband, began the systematic study of other elements to see if there were others that also emitted this strange energy. Mary then made a firm statement that it is a physical phenomena. She discovered that radioactivity originates within the atom themselves and does not depend on how atoms are arranged into molecules. Their discovery also led to a greater understanding of how atoms are built up. She discovered that thorium gives off the same rays as uranium. Her continued systematic studies of various chemical compounds gave the surprising result that the strength of the radiation did not depend on the compound that was being studied. It depends only on the amount of uranium or thorium. She found that chemical compounds of the same element generally have very different chemical and physical properties. One uranium compound is a darker powder, another is a transparent yellow crystal. But what was deceived for the radiation they gave off was only the amount of uranium they contain. She coined the terms radioactive for the behavior of these substances and radioactivity to describe the new substances and processes. She established a standard measure of radioactivity, allowing for the comparison of results from different laboratories in the world. This was the biggest achievement for her as a scientist. This discovery was absolutely revolutionary. Radioactivity is a spontaneous transformation of one chemical element to the other by emission of radiation. From a conceptual point of view, it is her most important contribution to the development of physics. Presently, the amount of radioactivity received by patients in nuclear medicine is measured in Curie, in honor for her to coin the term. They ground up samples of pitch blade, dissolved them in acid, and began to separate the different elements present using the standard analytical chemistry techniques of that time. Soon after that, in July 1898, they extracted a new element that was even more radioactive than uranium. They extracted a black powder 330 times more radioactive than uranium, which they call polonium. Polonium was named after Marie Curie homeland of Poland. Polonium was a new chemical element with atomic number 84. Presently, polonium has few applications, and those are related to its radioactivity, including as sources of neutrons and alpha particles. In January 1899, another new element was discovered. This was over 1 million times more radioactive than uranium. It was named radium, named after the Latin word for ray. In order to obtain 1 decigram of pure radium chloride salt, Marie had to sift through hundreds of tons of fish blade. Isolating pure samples of this element was exhausting work for Marie. It took 4 years of back-breaking effort to extract 1 decigram of radium chloride from several tons of raw ore. Radium was led to numerous applications in physics and chemistry, but as with X-ray, it was medicine that made first use of it. In 1901, Marie Curie and Henry Becquerel jointly published The Physiological Action of Radium, which began with the sentence, "Radium rays act energetically on the skin. The effect produced is similar to that resulting from the action of X-rays." This marked the starting point of medical applications of radium. At the initiative of Marie Curie, the doctors at the Saint Leu Hospital in Paris started to treat skin tumor by placing small radium needles in contact with tumors. Very quickly, another doctor learned to make use of radium radiation. Radium would then become the tool for fighting cancer, the disease that was thought to be uncurable. Some hospitals equipped themselves with radium bomb to treat deep tumor. Other technique, Curie therapy, was also developed. It consists of inserting a platinum needle containing radium powder into a cancerous tumor, as used in brachytherapy. It was also believed that it could be used to clean unhealthy skin. Applying the radiation from radium could remedy the skin disease had been popular at that time. The work of Curie ended up being considered a medical discovery, and this made her a person with a powerful reputation. During the first 50 years, external beam radiation was based on the use of radium and X-rays. Today, radium is used in a small amount for cancer treatment, and safer substances with radioactive properties are used, such as cobalt and cesium. In June 1903, Marie defended her PhD thesis on radioactivity of polonium and radium. She was the first woman in Europe to receive her doctorate of science. That same year, Marie and Marie Curie were awarded the Nobel Prize for Physics along with Henry Becquerel for their combined through separate work on radioactivity. She became the first woman to win a Nobel Prize for Physics. Radioactivity discovered by Becquerel and Marie and Marie Curie at that time led to new therapeutic and diagnostic methods in medicine. In 1906, Pierre was killed in a traffic accident. Despite this loss, Marie continues her work. She carried out the first research into the treatment of tumor with radiation. Madame Marie Curie research was key in understanding the effect of radioactivity and quantifying this effect on living cells. She really established the field of radiation therapy for cancer. It was decided that Marie Curie should take over Pierre's teaching job at the University of Paris in 1906. This made her the first woman professor at France University. Madame Marie Curie's aspiration was to explore the use of radioactivity in medical application. To do this, in 1907, she convinced the French government to fund a radium research institute to be used mainly for medical research. In 1908, she went on to produce several decigrams of pure radium chloride before finally she was able to isolate radium in metallic form. In 1910, she successfully produced radium as pure metal. Also documented were the properties of the radioactive elements and their compound. In 1911, she was awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. The citation by the Nobel Committee was in recognition of her services to the advancement of chemistry by the discovery of the elements radium and polonium, by the isolation of radium and the study of the nature and compounds of these remarkable elements. She became first scientist to win 2 Nobel Prizes. Chemists considered that the discovery and isolation of radium was the greatest event in chemistry since the discovery of oxygen. That for the first time in history, it could be shown that an element could be transmuted into another element, revolutionized chemistry and signify a new era. In August 1914, the Radium Institute was completed and named after Marie's husband. The institute produced 4 more Nobel Prize winners, the Juliette Curie couple in particular. Shortly after the institute was completed, Germany invaded France. Immediately after the war broke out, Marie donated all of her money to the war fund and signed up to be a nurse. Marie's staff was cut short to 2 people, herself and her daughter Irene. Marie saw a way to apply her expertise to help save lives of wounded soldiers. She realized that the electromagnetic radiation of X-rays could help doctors see the bullet and shrapnel embedded in the soldiers' bodies and remove them, as well as to locate broken bones. Many hospitals in France already had X-ray machines, but those machines were often far from the battlefront. It was through Madame Curie research that medical use of X-rays become really a possibility. As a director of Red Cross Radiological Service, she toured Paris asking for money, supplies, and vehicles which could be converted to the X-ray truck. In October 1914, the first X-ray machine, known as Marie Curie, were ready. The machine is similar to that used today as the fluoroscopy machine. It is a powerful X-ray machine. It allows doctor to examine moving images in the body, such as pumping action of the heart or the motion of swallowing. She worked with her daughter Irene, then aged 17, at casualties close to the front line, X-raying wounded men to locate fractures, bullet, and shrapnel. She took courses on how to operate the equipment and on human anatomy, so she could learn how to read the film. She also learned how to drive a car and how to fix it. Accompanied by a military doctor and her daughter Erin as assistant, Madame Curie made her trip to Battlefront in October 1914. In less than 2 years, the number of X-ray machines had grown substantially. Madame Marie Curie produced 20 mobile and over 200 stationary X-ray machines. Madame Marie Curie had set up a training program at the Radium Institute to teach women to operate the X-ray equipment. She had trained about 150 women in the X-ray technology. Madame Marie Curie also invented tiny glass tubes that were filled with radon, a radioactive gas. Doctors would insert the tube in patients at spots where the radiation would destroy diseased tissue. The war ended on 11 November 1918, and a year later, her laboratory at the Radium Institute was finally ready. There, she dedicated herself to research until she died in 1934 at the age of 66 of aplastic anemia. Madame Marie Curie's revolutionary research laid the groundwork for our understanding of physics and chemistry. She set the foundation for the current practice of nuclear medicine, radiation oncology, medical imaging, and nuclear physics, to name a few. The work of Madame Marie Curie to search for pure knowledge has greatly contributed to fill the need of humankind. One quote from Madame Marie Curie, as what mentioned by the previous presenter, is, "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood." In summary, Madame Marie Curie was a person who dedicated and gave her life to science for the good of humankind. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nuria. With that, I pass the chair back to Dr. Chai Hong.
Thank you, Dr. Serene, for chairing the sections. I thank you very much, Dr. Madan Rahani, Dr. Maria, and Dr. Noria for your excellent presentations. Please join me to give a big applause to our great speakers today. On behalf of the organizing committee, I'd like to thank all the audience who present physically here in this hall, as well as those who watch live from their computers and their smart devices. I think this is an excellent way to celebrate the International Day of Medical Physics across the borders together. And I would like to take this opportunity to wish our colleagues at Jaipur and Vienna all the best for the live broadcast to be conducted at 12 p.m. Jaipur time and 10 a.m. Vienna time later. Lastly, I would like to thank the President of IOMP, Professor Slavik Tabakov, and the Chair of IOMP Education and Training Committee, Professor John Damelakis, the World Health Organization, and the University of Malaya for organizing this event. I would also like to thank my colleagues from the medical physics team, led by Professor Dr. Ng Kwan Hong, and the technical support from the Center of Information Technology, University of Malaya, for making this event a success. Finally, may I request all the audience to please come forward to the stage to take a group photo and just say hello to our people around the world. Thank you. Thank you very much.